You're listening to Real Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out realradio.com.
Something that's been really cool to me to kind of see is the fact that you can add so much value in one building versus the single family space. Like I can flip a single family house and make good money, but not $1 million. And you can make $1 million in one deal on one property if you buy it right. And so I'm finally realizing that space. I'm coming to the light at the end of the tunnel here. Hopefully it's not a train. And hopefully it's some freedom, you know, because I've been eating ramen noodles for 10 years. And so I'm ready to eat a steak.
Welcome to Real Radio, episode 258 with Ziegler.
Wow.
The crowd goes wild.
So, Ian, over under me here, I'm going to set it at 100. How many times have you been told you look like Justin Verlander?
I actually have heard that before. Under 100 times, obviously.
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3 times. Then I had to look at who it was.
And the baseball cap, it adds the touch, the final touch.
Yeah.
So do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay, Justin Verlander, like living legend, starting pitcher. He's put up Hall of Fame stats,
okay.
like stud pitcher. But first time I met Ian or saw him at a meetup, I was like total double take. So I was like, is that his brother? Like, you know, I was like, there's no way Justin Verlander's in Omaha, but
Also,
anyway.
he's married to Kate Upton.
Yes, he is.
Good
on him.
You know who that is?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Well, Joe Burrow's brother is here in town.
No, I have no idea.
You don't know who Joe Burrow is?
Yeah, the quarterback?
Yeah. His brother's in town. He's a real estate investor here, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to get him on. Joe Burrow's out for the season.
Yeah.
We have good friends, actually, that he's a huge Bengals fan, and they flew to the game in Pittsburgh on when was that? Last night? Monday? When did they play?
The game was last night. That was an amazing game.
Yeah, and anyway, they flew there because he's a huge Bengals fan, so they bought tickets and they got like sweet seats, but they paid like through the nose for him. And then he gets injured, and then wasn't there like their main running back out?
I know.
And they were like, "Oh my god!" Now the tickets dropped in like half. You know what I mean?
It was Joe Flacco.
Flacco,
Thank you.
Jeez.
Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers played probably the oldest quarterback game ever in history.
I know. It was like the It was like the has been.
The game was fire. It was like. I mean, it was like touchdown, 65 yards. I mean, it was, and there's probably 27 points scored in the last 3 minutes.
Listeners, Ted has had a lot of energy drinks today.
I've had actually, I did have a Jocko Willing energy drink this morning.
Did you?
Yeah. Those are healthy ones, just so you guys know.
Okay, enough about football and energy drinks and Hall of Fame pitchers. And I had a great meeting with you this week, or at least it was for me anyway. I don't know. You were probably bored, but Ian took me around a commercial property that he owns in Midtown, covered around like a 42nd Center area. Did you know he owned that?
I did not.
Really, really cool building, and you bought that for a song. And I want to dig into this, and we'll bounce back to it. But
which building is it?
Well, it's off 43rd and Francis.
Okay,
so it's like catty corner to the center building.
Yeah. Okay.
It's got like that white 70s rock on the outside. You know what I mean? Like you see older buildings like that sometimes, but. I was like, I didn't even know where to go in. I was like, is this a government building? Like, I was like, am I in the right spot?
I used to live over there, so I was trying to picture it.
But anyway, so Ian shows me this property that he's got, and we started talking about, you know, just our businesses and his mainly, and kind of like life and directions and stuff like that. We just had a really, really good conversation. And he has, by the way, I forgot to mention this, I think, he has a sick podcast studio that he built out there.
I saw it on your Instagram.
I mean,
I didn't know you were a podcast.
I walked in, I was like, what? I was feeling embarrassed about ours now. And I even told him, because he's got those. So in our podcast studio, you can probably see behind us here if you're watching this, but we've got basically LVP on the walls. And my original idea, and I really wanted to do this, was those like thin strips of vertical wood. And we were pricing them out. It was going to be like $1 billion to do the studio, because you got to buy them in panels, and they're like 1 foot, 1 foot.
But it's
panels.
got the sound deadening on behind it. Yeah. I mean, it was gonna be like 12 or 15 grand, I think.
Yeah. So I walk in, and he's got this like amazing setup with those vertical strips of wood. And I'm like, oh man, he dropped some coin on this. And then I start looking at, no, he built it. Like he built it on his own with just pine, right? That's what it was, right?
Yep.
And it looks awesome. And then what I really liked, and I won't bore the listeners with all this, but you had some movable panels that had different backdrops. So you could just like, if you wanted to shoot and it's a big studio, you could move a panel if you wanted that as a backdrop. Really cool. You had them mounted so you could just detach them from the wall and then hook them onto another spot.
Is there multiple people using the studio, or
so that's the premise behind it, right?
Okay.
Is if you guys wanted to shoot a podcast there, and I'm shooting out of there as well, it doesn't have the same set. You know, you can still brand it to what you guys want it to look like, right?
Yeah, and he's got really cool light. Anyway,
so what is your podcast?
So I'm working on putting out more content as far as like in the real estate space, as far as home ownership goes and the benefits of owning, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my buddy are also working on a podcast dealing with like men and faith-based men.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we get the details so we can share with our listeners.
Yeah. I know I'm twisting my buddy's arms like, hey, we need to put out some more episodes because we have a bunch that we've shot.
Okay.
We just haven't released them yet.
Okay.
And
they say that's the smartest way to do it.
Stockpile. Yeah, you got the stockpile in the hopper.
Yeah, so I got that going. We need to go through and edit and release them, but really excited about that just on a personal level, but also excited more as I'm seeing what you guys are doing is really incredible. And first, thanks for having me. You guys are,
of course,
are legends, obviously.
Legends.
So, yeah. You are legends. Yeah. Legends. And so I'm honored to be here as a guest, so I appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for opening the door and giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, when you do find out what the podcast is called and you have links, let us know so we can share it on our socials.
No, Ian, I'm going to do a couple things here. I want to talk about obviously what you have going on in real estate and kind of the different seasons you've seen since you've been in the business. Because I think you've been a licensed realtor for 13 years? Is that right?
Yeah, I have my license since 2014.
Yep, 2014. Okay, so and then you also have been investing. Now, I don't know why I thought this or didn't think this, but you've accumulated a number of residential and obviously the commercial property, but you've made some really cool moves, and I want to dig into that. But also, I want to touch on this because I'm gonna kind of roll back the clock here to early Ian times. You and I were talking about how I think the topic was we were just talking about people and moving and buying houses and like the whole dynamic of looking for a place to live and how it can be really challenging. And you touched on something and you mentioned that when you were young, you had experience going through evictions yourself when you were a kid, right? Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like that seemed like it was a very I don't know if traumatic is the right word, but I think it was an impactful thing that you went through. What happened like in your early days?
Yeah, so the story of little Ian. So my dad actually died before I was born. My mom was 9 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And so and he was just on a routine trip and got into an accident. He was in a motorcycle and he got into an accident and passed away. And so my mom, being 9 months pregnant,
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, is dealing with this trauma. And so anyways, also a provider too. So he's providing housing. And so we just jumped from apartment to apartment trying to survive. And and it wasn't until my grandma brought us in that I found some sort of security. And it correlates with me in regards to housing equals security.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And you went through that a couple of times, right? You went through a couple of evictions and then kind of bounced around. You were always like, you don't feel safe.
Yeah, hiding cats. If someone's knocking on the door, you got to check who it is before you answer it and open it. And so, yeah, for sure. It was an interesting time, but it was my normal. You know, it's interesting to hear people who grew up in a very luxurious house and that's their normal. And so I don't think it's good nor bad. It's just what you know.
Mm-hmm. And did you grow up in the Omaha area?
No, so I grew up in California and I joined the military and the military brought me out here.
Okay. And what branch were you in?
Air Force.
Air Force. Okay. So did you do 4 and then out, or how long did you stay in?
So I did 6 years active and then I got out and then I did 5 as a civilian.
Mm-hmm.
So I did contracting work. Then I worked as a federal employee for about 4 years.
What line of work in the Air Force were you involved in?
Airborne communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So I flew on the E-4B. It looks like Air Force One is the white jet with the blue stripe on it.
Yeah.
Did that for 6 years. Awesome opportunity. Got to travel the world, but was ready to get out for sure.
Did you get stationed overseas anywhere?
So we went TDY. It's a temporary duty assignment, once a month basically, and we got to go overseas quite a bit. Yeah.
What's the coolest place that you recall?
Mauritius.
What is that? That sounds like a made up word.
Yeah, I know. I hope I'm saying it right. It's an island off the coast of Madagascar.
Wow.
Yeah, that was cool. India was cool. Greece, Italy, Tokyo, they were all cool.
But what's so cool about that place?
It was beautiful. It was phenomenal. Untouched coral reef. We got to go scuba diving. These fish in the coral reef have colors you've never seen before. It's just insane.
Have you gone back?
No, I haven't. I think that you have to have, I think it might be opened up now, but I thought you had to have special access to get there.
Okay.
So it was a cool experience.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, you just have the anniversary. That would be a nice gift.
I know it. We still need to go on our honeymoon.
Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you just celebrated your anniversary, and you've got 3 kids,
Yes.
right? One 7 months old,
Yes.
and then you got what'd you say, 7 and 9-year-old?
7, 2.5, and then 11. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm whiffed on that one. But yeah, so that's awesome. So happy anniversary. How did you, were you chasing a girl? Is that why you ended up back in Omaha, or did you get stationed and off it?
Yeah. So I was stationed here, and I got out because I was going to move back because Omaha sucks, and
Everybody says that. And then a decade goes by.
yeah, I was like, Omaha's like mold. It just grows on you somehow. I don't know. I can't explain it, but you just get it, And yeah, so I stayed here, but in the meantime, I was building a portfolio, but there was really no pull to leave. Omaha's obviously a stable place. I had a job offer here, and I just didn't feel at peace going back to California. I'm like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? There was no answers for me. And so I was already set up here, starting to get some roots going. And so I stayed, and yeah, here we are.
Now, okay, you mentioned you started building your portfolio. Like, when along the journey, did you have a regular job after you got out of the military, or did you kind of dive right in and get your license, or what was the timing on that?
Yeah, so I was in the military. I got out, and I did some federal work as a civilian, but still working for the military.
You make good dough doing that, right?
It was difficult to leave that job because, yes, you do make decent money. I think I was making like 80 grand a year. They give you 30 days worth of vacation a year.
Ooh, nice.
You get 3 days.
I don't even get that.
Yeah. They pay you to go to the gym 3 days a week. Yeah. They do matching 401k. You got health benefits. You got all the perks.
Yeah.
And
golden handcuffs, huh?
Yeah, it was. That's a great description because I'm like, I can't leave this, but I can't stay here either. What do I do? And so I was caught in that conundrum for a long time until I had a stroke.
What?
Yes. Yes. I had a stroke.
I told you this was going to be good, Ted.
And so I was laying in the hospital. I thought it was a migraine. I got home. I get all these crazy sensations in the body, chattering the teeth. I can't feel my tongue. I'm freezing cold. Symptoms that I usually get as a migraine. But this one, I could not shake it. And I was freezing cold and I could not warm up. And luckily, my girlfriend at the time was like, we need to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay. So she drags me in the car. She drives us to the hospital. They wheel me in and they're like, he's having a stroke. And so they put me in the ambulance and bust me off to Creighton. And they're like rushing me in, doing all this crazy stuff. And
how old are you?
Right now?
No, at this time?
30.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm laying there in my deathbed.
Did you think you were going to die?
It was the most bizarre injury I've ever encountered. Like, you hurt your shoulder or something and you're like, oh man, I didn't realize I used my shoulder that much. Until you hurt it, and imagine that, but for your brain. And so people are asking me questions. Hey, what day is it? What's your name? Who's the president? And you can hear them and you can articulate what they're saying, but you have no response back. At least that's what happened to me.
That's scary.
It was really bizarre and it was scary. And so they put me in the hospital bed and I'm laying there and I'm like, if I die, am I going to be okay with the way my life turned out? And the answer was no. And at the time I was still working with the golden handcuffs on, and I felt God just kind of like, hey, you're not going to make this decision. So I just got to
a little flick.
Yeah. Flick me right off that fence. I was like, I'm on this fence. And he's like, nope, you're done. And so flicked me all the way off the fence. And I put in my notice right after that, which I had no idea what I was going to do, and just went with it. And yeah, it's been a journey ever since.
Now, are you more susceptible to other potential strokes now, or is that something that you're medicating, or was it something going on in your life? So
when I was in there's 2 types of strokes you can have. One is too much blood in the brain, and then the other one's not enough blood. And so when I was there, I had too much. And so they gave me some medicine to give me some clotting to slow the bleeding down. And then that medicine actually caused another stroke. And so I actually had 2 strokes, but one was brought on by the medicine. And so, yeah, it was a hot mess. During that time, Blue Cross Blue Shield and CHI were going through a little tiff, and CHI wasn't accepting Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so I was at Creighton and they're like, hey, we don't accept your insurance anymore. And so the day after, like, hey, we got to get you out of here because your insurance isn't covered here. And so they kicked me out, and I get this $70,000 hospital bill because my insurance isn't covered. And so I'm wrestling with them. I'm like, it was just a crazy season. But
did you pay cash and negotiate down?
Yeah. So now I was like, hey, listen, I have insurance. You guys brought me here. I didn't ask to come here. I have insurance. You guys need to figure it out. And so they did a little bit. They sent me a check, and then I gave them the check, and I was done. I don't know if it covered everything, but I'm like, hey, they gave me the money. I gave you the money. I'm out. I'm done. I'm good.
We're good.
I'm out.
We're good.
And so I just left after that. But
man, why can't our country get their shit together with healthcare? Like, it seems like I don't know. I've heard some things about Canada too, but like you have these European countries and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, free healthcare for everyone, and like it's not that big of a deal. People don't panic about.
Yeah, but remember we had
a $70,000 one night stay at a hospital.
We had Andrew Devlin in. Remember, like his mom has like a brain tumor right now and other stuff going on. And he's like, yeah, it's been 6 months since it was diagnosed, and I'm still waiting for the next evaluation to be able to go in for it.
So dumb.
He's like the difference is that there you're on an eternal wait.
That's in Canada.
No, this was in Europe.
Europe. Okay.
Yeah, he's in the UK. Yeah. Anyway, dude, that is nuts. I think you're the youngest person I've ever met in person that's actually had a stroke. Yeah, like that. That's crazy.
So, was your life crazy at the time? Like looking back?
No, actually, it's funny that you bring that up. I was hesitating on making that decision from the golden handcuffs, which I love that, by the way. But I was working out. I was probably the healthiest I've ever been. The only thing that I can point to is workout supplements, saying, hey, that these workout supplements are not regulated. You don't really know what's in them. I wasn't even taking anything crazy. I think I was taking pre-workout and some amino acids and protein. That's it.
Yeah, I take that.
Yeah. And so I caution you on taking that stuff, especially the pre-workout, because it's loaded with the stuff and you're feeling all tingly and all the stuff. I would say probably it's not worth it.
Yeah, there was they had ephedrine in it for a long time back in the day, and I remember I tried that a few times. I just didn't like how it made me feel, but and then it comes out, it's like, oh yeah, this can cause heart attacks and strokes and all this stuff. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Okay, so you rallied. Obviously, you got a little tap on the shoulder from the big man upstairs that said, hey, your life's not done yet. You said, I'm going to go out and quit my job. What next? How did you figure out what the next move was?
So I was doing real estate at the time. And so I was working full time at the Air Force Base, and I was working as full time as I possibly could outside of that too, doing real estate stuff. I always felt a calling on helping people become financially free and leveraging real estate because of what happened early on with my grandma. I'm like, man, we got to get people some housing. And so I was just doing that and went into being an agent full time.
When did it occur to you that starting to buy rental properties was something that might be a good fit for you?
I would say back at my grandma's house. I remember listening in to the news. I was talking to my grandma, and I overheard this story of this wealthy man and how he's building all of his wealth in real estate, which caught my attention, which happened to be Donald Trump at the time.
Oh, I was going to say Colin Schwartz, but
yeah, Colin Schwartz. I think he was the second right after him. But yeah, so I'm like, what is this real estate thing? And I think that was the initial seed that had planted in me. And there's levels to the game, right? You can't just go out and start building Trump towers. You have to start somewhere. And so that's where I found my entry with single family housing.
Okay. So tell us about your first deal.
So my first deal was actually a primary residence. So I told myself I was never going to rent, which I haven't. And so in the military, they give you what they call BAH, which is basic allowance for housing. And so I used that money to pay for a house. And so I don't even know how I got qualified at the time because my enlistment pay wasn't covering it. And so I invited two buddies in and I charged them $500 a piece. And I said, hey, $500, you get a room, everything's included.
Yeah, because didn't you say you guys were hanging out all the time anyway?
Yeah.
Like they were always at your house. And you're like, just bring your stuff
We're
over,
on
man.
Call of Duty. We got all the headsets on just like this, playing the game. I think I had a bed and a TV. Yeah, that was it. I had no furniture in the house.
Spartan living.
That's it. And so the whole house is empty. Luckily, one of the guys, he had everything. His whole house was furnished. And so when he moved in, the house finally felt like a house. Or we had a couch,
Yeah.
I wasn't sitting on the carpet anymore. But
I was so good at Call of Duty. Now I'm so bad at it. We pulled it out the other day. I was playing with my son, and I'm like, I couldn't even figure out the controls.
I was always I'm a kind of a World War II buff.
I thought I'd be a Bond guy.
No, never played
Classic.
those.
Classic.
But I loved the World War II, series of Call of Duty, and I never played the Black Ops or any of that's the more recent stuff. But yeah, anyway,
More recent is like 20 years ago.
shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking like PS2 times.
Yeah.
But
the original.
yeah. Now, okay, so you house hacked before that was coined a term, and that seemed to do pretty well for you, right?
It was great because now I was living there for free, basically, or at minimal cost. I was covering the utilities. I think we were all paying $500, and it just really allowed me to then now pocket that income that was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started saving up and learning more about real estate, figuring out foreclosures and where to find deals and all this stuff. And yeah, I went down to a foreclosure auction a couple of times, met a couple of bird dogs and built some relationships, bought a couple of properties from them. And it was just kind of growing from there, just organically.
Now, did you end up buying at auction then, or you just met the people there?
So I've never actually bought at auction, but I've bought from auction because I bought through the bird dogs.
Okay.
Did I explain that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm following you. Okay. This is cool. I like the house hacking origin story. You've been coupling your agent business along with your golden handcuff income. And then you started kind of stepping on the gas a little bit, networked, met some people, bird dogs. And then let's do a snapshot in time. What's Ian's holdings look like today?
Yeah. So right now I have 36 properties, which I think equals about 56 doors.
Awesome.
All mixed between 4 units and down, single family, and then I have that office space.
What time frame did you develop this portfolio?
It's actually been a long time if you look at my first acquisition because I brought it as a primary residence and then stayed there for 5-6 years, saving up money. And then I actually bought a condo downtown. An agent brought it to me and was like, hey, this is a great deal. And it's rented out for $2,100 and it's going out for $150. And so I'm like, why don't I just buy this as a primary and keep the tenants in there? And so we went down that path and I ended up moving into it because like, hey, this is mortgage fraud and you're going to And I'm like, this is dumb. But so I ended up moving down to the condo downtown and then I rented out my other house. And yeah, that was another acquisition. But it was nice because you're able to put a longer term on it with less money down.
So how are you finding these deals going forward? I mean, with that many deals, are these mostly off market, wholesales, an agent that was just an absolute badass that was looking into deals for you that were online or what?
So mostly off market. I mean, as my interest grew in real estate, I'm doing a lot of courses or self-taught and stuff like you guys, Bigger Pockets. You guys are a great resource for people and just learning like, what's the strategy on finding properties? And so all of them are off market. You could do direct mail, all the stuff, nothing new under the sun. But
you were doing the direct mail personally?
No. So I hired, I think I used yellow letters at one time. I think right now I'm using Postcard Mania. There could be a good resource for you guys maybe if you're doing that, but I wasn't doing it myself. No.
Got it.
Bandit signs, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And did you do that pretty consistently? Like, did you have a monthly marketing spend that you kind of carved out to create deal flow?
Yeah. So as much as you can, you don't know what you don't know. And you're just like, I'm going to go put out signs and you just go do it. I'm going to send out some mailers and you just go do it. People are really dialed in today. Like, hey, I need to have X amount of mailers to get this many calls. This. I'm like, that was not me.
Like this guy next to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. I was just going and and if something happened and I was just going to keep doing it till something did happen. But I'm not even that antiquated now, but it's really powerful when you are.
Are you using partners to take all these deals down or doing it all yourself?
Yeah.
And then how did you figure that out? Because there had been a point where like, I can't get a loan. I don't have the money down. Like, or were you just doing a lot of BRRRR methods in the beginning?
Everything is BRRRR.
Yeah.
Everything is BRRRR.
But now it's hard nowadays.
Very hard.
Yeah.
And so all 2024, I bought 24 properties and I think I maybe kept 2 and just different loan products. But it was actually challenging in that business sense of like, hey, you need to go in with different exits in mind. You can't just BRRRR out of everything. You got to be able to have multiple exits just in case this one doesn't work. What else are you going to do with it? And so my entire career up until 2024, when interest rates kind of went up, were all BRRRR. And so luckily, that's probably been the smartest thing I've done was just decide to buy something and let time do its thing. I'm not any smarter or better than anybody else. I'm probably the least brightest bulb in the bunch,
Okay.
But letting time just work for me. And so I got lucky.
I think lucky. I mean,
well, you got determined,
Yeah.
and that outkicks luck any day of the week. I mean, that's what you need. It's time and determination, and everybody goes through periods of time where they're really motivated, and then you're like not at all. But you have to have the discipline and the determination to kind of power through. And then when you zoom out, all of a sudden you got 56 doors and 36 properties, and you got a different season coming up, and which that's what I wanted to dig into next with you, if that's cool.
Yeah.
You and I talked a lot when we met the other day about kind of the decision point. You're at a little bit of a fork in the road, although it is somewhat self-inflicted, on what you're going to do next. And could you maybe kind of describe what you've been, I guess, not wrestling with, but what's the kind of decision points that you're trying to navigate through right now?
Yeah, so with these properties, they're all BRRRRs. We ended up wrapping them into a portfolio loan, and that loan was on a 5-year balloon, 20-year AM, and that 5-year mark is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a kind of a ticking time bomb in my hands, and that rate is at a 4. And right now, with our current interest rate environment, is not at a 4 anymore. So you're like, well, what am I going to do?
When's that time period?
It's going to be April of next year.
Now, what do you guys think? I mean, will this new Fed chair come in February? Is it February that's supposed to happen?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then, Trump put it out there. He's like, I'm only going to put somebody in office that's going to get 3% or lower rate.
Well,
I mean, but you can't bank on that.
Yeah,
no,
for sure
because like Jerome Powell, he's the chair.
Yeah.
But he doesn't make the decision. It's a committee. There's 12 other people involved, all the Fed chairs from each location. There's Kansas City, New York, Atlanta. There's all these, Fed locations. So, I mean, he can't make the call. He can't overrule all of them. So I don't know, man. And like you look now too, recently, like as within the last week, Trump decided to re-escalate the trade war with China.
Yeah.
And we've got, 100% tariffs that are coming. So I don't think it's as easy to predict that we're going to have, because like we were at the RIA luncheon today and somebody brought up, well, they're talking about lowering rates again, another quarter point, probably 2 times before the end of the year. And so we should be at XYZ. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think this whole inflation thing is going to be stickier than everybody's expecting. And, trade wars like this can really result in inflation, and you can't lower rates during inflation. And plus, it's an unsteady job market. So there's a lot of complicated stuff in play right now. But back to your story, Ian, you're going from 4% to probably 6.5% if things kind of stay the course right now on commercial debt. What are you considering?
So that's why I had you in. I was like, hey, what do you think? You're much better looking and smarter than me. So let me call on the big guns here.
Man, the smile on his face has never been so big as it was right there.
You were 0 for 2 on that description, but go ahead.
But yeah, actually, in all seriousness, looking to people who've done bigger and better deals, have more wisdom. But yeah, with your insight and guidance, just kind of looking at different options. So talked to a couple of different lenders, and luckily I've had a 4% interest rate for a while now. It was on a 20-year AM. We were able to really dig into some good equity. And so we're at a 50% loan to value kind of over the whole portfolio, which puts me in a good position to potentially do a cash out refi, move to maybe a 30-year AM schedule. And I just heard of one that's at a 40, which can help with cash flow. Which is going to be huge, but also pull out a lot of that equity. You said something when we met, you can't eat equity. And I'm like, I feel that because I'm pretty hungry. But it's so real. And that equity is just kind of just sitting there doing nothing. And it's like, man, like on paper, I'm a millionaire on paper, but I'm like, man, like I'm still struggling to pay bills. So
asset rich, cash poor.
Yeah. And so
very common thing on the podcast that we discuss.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to potentially not be in that season if here in the next 6 months or so, be able to say, hey, let's do a cash out refi, pull out $1 million, and then figure out what to do with it and go deploy it somewhere else.
Yeah. And the fact that you can get a longer amortization period, like you said, you've got 50% equity in that. You pull that $1 million out and your payments really they're not going to be that much different, right? From where you're at currently.
On the 30-year projection, I'm actually projected to make $6,000 more per month.
That's insane.
Yeah. So if I push it to a 40, then I don't know what that would look like, but it's going to be more.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so just quick math.
40
here.
years?
Yeah, 40-year AM. He just talked to somebody that that is able to do those on a commercial note.
Shut the front door.
Yeah.
I'll get you the contact info.
So we're going to talk about that.
That is game changing.
So and okay, listeners, we'll divulge the secret 40-year AM contact here when we get it.
I just don't have it with. I don't have.
Yeah, no, you're good. But so $6,000 a year you can add in net cash flow and have a substantial amount of cash to make moves with.
Yeah.
And, you and I were talking about like, there's different ways to kind of skin a cat when you're looking at trying to unlock equity. There's, if you need to exit a portfolio, but you're like, you have something else to roll it into, you could always do a 1031, those kind of things. But then a lot of times if you make the decision to sell something like that, then you're under the gun and you may have to buy something and, identify something in 45 days that you're going to buy that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise if you just had the cash and not have to worry about the ticking clock, right?
Right.
And so I like the fact that you're looking at this as saying, okay, I bought these because they were good deals. I've owned them for a while. I've operated them. We paid down the note. Market has done its thing and it's appreciated. And now you can harvest that equity, have it so it's available to put in whatever you want to do. And it gives you options. Like you don't have that clock. And that's what I really like about your situation that you're in.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because it opens up doors to opportunities that I didn't have access to before. I do think that opportunity do present themselves when you have a little bit of capital. Obviously expertise in that space, but when you can also get some skin in the game, it's going to be helpful. So I'm excited to see what comes across the desk and maybe what I can.
Not to mention, I do want to highlight the fact that, $6,000 a month is $72,000 a year. That's like having a decent paying full-time job that you don't have to do anything for. It's just you're operating the same portfolio, doing the same, and now you got $6,000 more coming in. I mean, it's a great move, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about it. It's going to allow us to be better landlords, because there's just going to be expenses that come through. And so if we can continue to stay ahead of that and give our tenants a better stay, then we're going to probably have better retention rate, lower turnover. And so that's where you get killed in the single family space is you got to turn them every 12 months. And so if you don't keep your tenants happy, then it's going to be a tough game to play.
Yeah, and it's always that balancing act too, where it's like you want to max out how much you can make for rent because you want to maximize your monthly income, but at the same time, you also don't want your tenants going out shopping you every single year, right? So I kind of like the strategy of keeping it slightly below market, or in my case, like way below market, which is not advisable. Do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, I just don't like the whole, you're like, okay, I collected $150 a month per unit, and then they move out.
Yeah.
And then you got a $1,500 unit turn, or if they do damages, it's even worse. You know what I mean? Then it wipes out your entire cash flow. It's always something.
It's always something. So just keep them in. Keep them in as long as you can. And I think that's a smart strategy under market rents, right? Because they're not going to find it anywhere else. They're already there. They don't want to move. They don't have the money to put a deposit down somewhere else. Just keep them happy. Answer your phone and see what their gripe is. If they have a maintenance concern, go take care of it and keep them in there, because those turns, especially if you have a ton of units and you get like 15, 20 people that all want to leave at the same time.
That can kill you. Yep. I did this. I don't know if have you guys ever done something like this where I know, Ted, yours haven't been long-term rentals for the most part, but I used to do, like, if I had a good tenant and they were there, say, like 5 years or something, right? And they pay on time. We have a good relationship. I'm usually Johnny on the spot with maintenance requests. But I used to do I'd be like, hey, why don't you guys pick out a nice light fixture or something like that for the living room? Or maybe we could do some different, nicer blinds, or maybe like we could put new flooring into the bedrooms or something. Like I would offer to do that for, tenants that would stay. And I tell you what, a little bit of goodwill like that goes a long, long way. Yeah. Or even you could be like, hey, Christmas time comes around and be like, hey, why don't we take off a couple $100 this month, do something nice for your family, something like that on rent.
I mean, I think that's genius, right? Not only, especially the first example, because now you're bettering the space. So it's actually benefiting you, but while they're there, they get to appreciate it. So I think that's genius. Something that we've been considering is everyone who pays on time for a certain amount of time. We haven't come up with all of the rules, but for everyone who's paid on time for this amount of time that they've been there, put them into a pool and then do kind of like a raffle thing.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
These are all the tenants that paid on time this month, and we're going to
8-inch TV.
Yeah, whatever it is, whether it's a couple $100 or a dinner night or whatever.
Yeah.
But just make it like, hey, we're going to incentivize you because we appreciate you. We appreciate you and your stay, your timeliness on paying.
My property manager did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each month you paid on time or early. You had a raffle ticket.
Oh, no kidding.
And then I don't
Why have
remember.
I never heard of this before?
I don't remember if it was
Smart.
3 months or 6 months. And then it was, I think, like a 70-inch TV at that time, or 72-inch. And they gave the TV away to
Which those cost like $100 now.
Yeah.
So
Even better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ridiculous how cheap.
So
they
yeah,
get.
and that was really positive. But I don't do what you guys do, but I've had a couple long terms, and even if I had a midterm person that was staying, I'd go always do a Christmas gift basket, where it's like a $25 gift card. If they had kids, I bought gifts for the kids, not for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I usually just go buy a whole bunch of games, and, so they have something to play.
Do Carson and Skylar get mad that you give other kids Christmas gifts?
They don't even know. And then so that went over really well. And then always when I always had electricians or contractors, I just drop off a bottle of whiskey. That always led to referrals.
Yeah.
So, and then, if somebody had babies, I'd bring over a pack of diapers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's smart.
I think we're just getting back to, if you take care of people, they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Be human.
And
Yeah.
I
Kind.
kind of like going back to your origin story of kind of the insecurity from when you were a kid about housing. I really like that you've kind of not ignored that part of your past and leaned into it and acknowledged the fact that this is a hard thing and it's not fair, especially for kids or, a single mom whose husband passes away when you're 9 months pregnant. And we're all people, right? And I think it's always fun to hear about, like a lot of times on podcasts, especially, people will tell the horror stories or the tenants trash this or there was a squatter or whatever. But there's really good people out there too. And I've had the fortune of having some really good longer term tenants over the years, like 10 plus years, 12 plus years, stuff like that. And I get to know them, and I still self-manage some of my stuff, even though I've got, a lot more than I had back then. But I do enjoy that. And doing nice things for people. It just makes me feel good. So it's almost like a selfish thing, but they appreciate it, and it just goes both ways. So
I think it's definitely true that your past makes you the person you are. You and I have very similar stories. My mom had me when she was 16. Dad died at 11 months old. So, I didn't know my dad. That it doesn't give you that emotional attachment, when you don't know him, because everybody's always like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I didn't know him,
Yeah.
And my stepdad is my dad, that's the way I look at life. But, and I did live with my grandmother, and I did end up taking care of my grandmother and buying her home. And I think it just kind of changes who you are, makes you look at things just a little bit differently, maybe a little bit more open heart. But also, it can hurt you too, because you see some people going, some struggling, and you sympathize maybe a little too much, right?
yeah.
And so that point, there's a weird line you got to walk through. You can be nice, do extra, but you also have to hold a stern line.
Yeah.
When it comes to rent.
I've had long-term tenants. I've had the hoarders. I've had the people who damage everything, and then I've also been that landlord that let this lady, like a grandma to me, live in the house and not pay for like 10, 11 months because I was like, this is just like my grandma. How could I kick her out?
Yeah.
And she keeps saying, oh, it's coming. And I'm like, okay. So I've done all of that for sure.
That had been a lesson.
It was. Luckily, at that time, I moved into a property management company, and they said, okay, we're going to set up a payment plan with you. And so they recouped a lot of that money. I think that we ended up being a couple $1,000 short, but it wasn't the full like 12 or 13 grand that she was buying.
But she did end up staying for a while.
She did. She came actually.
Well, yeah, free rent. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I just got to be nice to this kid, and he'll let me stay for free. But that's the issue with self-management, because if you don't know how to make those boundaries and set guidelines and understand that this is a business and there's bills to pay, and if you don't have people paying, then you're paying.
Yeah. No, that's well said. But, I think you have to almost go into it and just be okay with getting screwed over once in a while. If you can look yourself in the mirror and know you're doing the right thing and you feel good about how you're treating your tenants, then just know that by law of averages, somebody is probably going to take advantage of you at some point. And
it's even worse when you
just don't want to be, I don't want to be yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I just don't want to be the jaded, even though I am a little bit, I don't want to be that guy that looks in the mirror and just be like, all people suck. I'm just never going to be like that, and I'm just going to be okay. I've made terrible decisions about loaning people money personally. I'm much better at it as a business than I am, on a personal level. And I've just had people not pay me back. I think I made 7. I think I brought this up. I made like 7 loans about a year ago, and 6 of them just ghosted me completely. Never got a dime.
I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah, and I had one guy that I've loaned money to a few times that's always paid me back. So,
Jay.
No, no, that's different. That's different. But yes. But anyway, so enough about me. But what do you think you're going to do? You're going to have a pot of money soon. What are you thinking about right now? What's your next move?
Yeah, making it rain. Going to Club 415. You know what? I'm completely open to that because I think that there's a ton of opportunity out there in the real estate space and commercial. We're talking about tenants right now. Do you want to get into more tenants, toilets and tenants, or do you want to get into a triple net lease or self-storage? I mean, there's a ton of options out there where you don't have to deal with some of the stuff that we're dealing with on the multifamily or the single family side.
Preach.
And so
you're speaking Ted's love language.
I'm selling everything right now and going to that world.
Yeah, because hey, listen, if people are sleeping there at the it's usually going to be an emergency when they can't sleep there anymore. But if you got a place of business or whatever, they got a place to go home and sleep. And so they're going to be okay. Your contractor's in there, get the insurance in, whatever it may be, and not disrupt their life too drastically. And so I'm looking at those options. I think that I'm completely open to it. I probably will end up getting into some multifamily and doing that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But the options are open for sure. I'm open to it.
Cool. Okay. I find it really interesting that you've never partnered with anybody. And you've accumulated this much, and I can tell from being at the building that we met at the other day that you've been doing all this work on. Which, by the way, I got to call something out. How much did you buy this building for, and how many units is it?
So at the time, I was working on a single family property right down the street, and I get a call from this guy saying, "Hey, I have a property I want to sell." And I say, "Okay, let me pull it up," and he tells me like kind of the cross streets. I'm like, "Man, I'm like working on a house right down there," and so I'm like, "Tell me more about the property." And it turns out it's a commercial office building, and it's 10,000 square feet, and he wants to sell it. And I'm
3 stories, right?
3 stories. And I'm like, "Well, how much do you want to sell it for?" And he's like, "I want to sell it for $275." And I'm like,
done.
And I was like, "Well, okay, hold on." And so I pulled up on the assessor, and the assessed like had $1 million. I'm like, this can't be right. This can't be right.
Something's fishy.
Yeah. And so I keep digging into it, and I go meet him at the place, and the property was like 50% occupied, and there was only 6 units at the time. There was a giant storage, and it was just mismanaged. And it was the tax assessed value was so high, the taxes were killing them. The roof needed to get done, a lot of deferred maintenance, and he's like, I got to get rid of this thing. Each month I'm losing money on it, so I got to sell it. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, I really want to buy it. Let me do my due diligence. Let me get like a surveyor out here and do an inspection.
Because you had never bought a commercial building before, right?
No, you
didn't know what you were doing, really.
No, and I still don't. And so,
what year was this?
About 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, go through that rigmarole, due diligence, and I'm like, well, let's do it. But in the meantime, another month goes by, and he's like, hey, I'll sell it to you for $260, And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm still interested in buying it. And then I'm like, let me just come down there one more time. And he's like, you know what? As long as you close this thing, I'll sell it to you for $250.
He's negotiating against himself the whole time.
Yeah. And so we close on it. And now I got this unit that I guess before I could close on it, I took it to a bank to go get financing on it. And I got turned down. I was like, man, like, how are you not financing on this? $250,000. It's worth $1 million tax assessed. What's the deal? And he's like, well, it doesn't pencil. It doesn't make any money. I'm like, well, that's why we want to buy it. That's why you sell it. And he's like, we can't do it here. And so I'm like, geez, Louise. And so I take it to another bank, and they're like, yep, let's do it. And so I think having the right banking relationships can really make or break a deal.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
Or opportunity.
Good tip.
And so, but also too, like even going into this refinance, making sure I'm partnering with the right bank to make sure I can maximize the portfolio refi as well. So, but with this particular deal, I got them to finance it. And we just started going in there, kind of turning properties that are vacant and renting them out. We did like a fire leases, like just giving people spaces, pennies on the dollar, just to get activity in there. And it was like a ghost town. And so we started getting more people in there, started building some income for the building. And yeah, we've still been stabilizing it ever since.
What was the big recruitment tool to get them in? It was just the cheap rent?
Yeah, cheaper rent. People need a space to work out of. So
was it a small period? Was like, hey, this less, free rent for 3 months, and then
we're even willing to take on shorter terms, right? Because in the commercial space, we're doing 3-5 year leases, and we're like, hey, we'll do a 6-month lease for you, and so I think that flexibility and just getting income coming in didn't kind of make us so rigid on our terms.
It's a nice startup opportunity for people getting a business going, think in any space, but can't make the long commitment.
Yeah.
Smart.
Well, especially you bought it for $250,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you bought it right. That's step one. And then basically you kind of did guerrilla marketing and got the building leased up and increased the net operating income probably way past what the dude that owned it previously did.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, man. I really like that deal that you did. I mean, it was really smart.
Yeah. So we're still in that building, in that deal, still stabilizing. It's been a long term. That's something that's been really cool to me to kind of see is the fact that you can add so much value in one building versus the single family space. Like I can flip a single family house and make good money, but not $1 million. And you can make $1 million in one deal on one property if you buy it right. And you do build up that NOI.
You and we had I remember one of my takeaways from our conversation was, I think you put it like this. We were talking about, flipping versus holding for a little bit and then, turning a property and then holding for, longer term, like 10 years or so, something like that. I think you put it like this. You said, everything has a different cash conversion cycle. Was that the term you used? Yeah. And that really stuck with me. I liked that description of it because it's so true. Like to your point, you flip a house, it's a one-time cash event. It's pretty quick. Usually you can get them done in, 2, 3, 4 months. And then, like what you're talking about is a longer term investment, but it's no less real than the flipping income. You're just delaying the gratification of it more or less, right?
Yeah. But you need to have those shorter term cash conversion cycles to keep you afloat during this longer event. And so I'm finally realizing that space. I'm coming to the light at the end of the tunnel here. Hopefully it's not a train. And and hopefully it's some freedom, because I've been eating ramen noodles for 10 years. And so I'm ready to eat a steak. But you do need that. And so I think that's where diversification comes in. I know you're talking about short-term, mid-term, long-term rentals and those different strategies. And I think that they all work. And then obviously these longer stabilization plays. And I think you need them all. But you don't have access to them all at all times either. Like I wouldn't say that I can go take down an apartment building when just getting started either. So I think there are levels to the game, not only mentally, but financially as well.
So after looking at this property, 3 years of stabilizing, learning, you've learned a lot, right?
Yeah.
If you're buying this exact same property today, what would you do differently today that you screwed up with in the beginning of this? Like, what would you do to start this to make sure it didn't take another 3 years?
I think that we played it right. I think that looking back, you could always do something bigger, faster, better because you now have gained that wisdom.
Knowledge,
but you don't know what you don't know.
Of course.
And so I think giving yourself grace and understanding that you can always reach out to somebody who's done it. I think the things that I did right was knowing that I didn't know anything about office. And I talked to people who knew office and they're like, yeah, this is a good deal. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then you just do it. And you just figure it out. I think that's kind of what the cool thing about the entrepreneur is you just figure it out. You don't know everything and you just go for it anyways. You do enough due diligence and you measure twice and you go for it and you just go from there. But looking back, that building, it never really made money. And so I was trying to figure out how to make it make money. And so the other good thing I did too was I took spaces that weren't making money and tried to figure out how to make it make money. Like there was a cafeteria in there, kitchenette, and I was like, scrap it and turn it into an office. And so we turned that into an office. And so now it's generating income. We took a larger space that was harder to rent, like 2,000 square feet. I'm like, no one wants 2,000 square feet now. And so we chopped that into 6 different executive offices. And now those are renting out much easier. And I think it's a lot less risky now because if you have this large tenant that occupies a huge part of the building and they leave, then you're screwed again. And so that's something I learned with this project is sometimes it's less risky to have more doors and more tenants because your break even now is a lot lower. So I'm like, man, like it's actually more risky to have less doors.
If I could, I want to dovetail on what you just said. So I was talking to JJ at the Omaha RIA luncheon that we have every third Friday of the month.
Good shout out.
And, Ted somehow convinced him to come on the podcast here in a couple of weeks. So this is going to be cool. But we were just talking about office in general because he has experience owning some office, and he was talking about how he just didn't really like office, felt the sector itself was kind of going, keeps going down every year post COVID. And it's like, it does. If you look at, and I just pulled this up actually today, I did a chat GPT prompt where I was like, tell me basically all of the sectors involved in real estate and where they're at year over year and the overall trends and stuff. I just like looking at that. And office has been down. But I think, this is my theory, and I have not tested this with anything. I think, to your point, Ian, if you have smaller office spaces, I think those will always be in demand for small business owners. Like, let's say a massage therapist or a photographer, or somebody that's got a little business and they just can't work out of the house and they need like a $500 a month spot. And I think those are always in demand. But, your example of having a 2,000 square foot office, that's a very specific tenant with a very specific amount of employees. And those are harder to find and less of them out there. And especially like medical office, ton of risk there. If you have a tenant that goes out, I mean, good luck. You may be looking to lease that thing for like 2-3 years. So I'm curious on the larger office, if overall that is dragging the sector down disproportionately to what it actually is when you factor in the smaller office spaces. I don't know. Untested theory, but
I think that you have to be creative with the space. I think if everyone's running from it, it might be a good opportunity to run to it. So I think that there's actually a good potential opportunity within office.
The co-working is popping up everywhere. Also, co-working, not co-working, but co-storage.
Yeah. How can you position this asset for its highest and best use? We now know that this large office isn't working, but doesn't mean the building's not working or the location's not working. They've done a ton of due diligence to even build here. So it's got to work for something, right? I think that there's also niches that you can tap into. I know, like for my example, with those executive suites, I'm getting a ton of people in the beauty space.
Yep.
That are getting charged $300 to $600 a week to go operate out of a salon.
Yeah, in a booth rental type situation. Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm getting a ton of people. I'm like, hey, this is the monthly rent. And they're like, how much is that per week? Because everything they do is by week.
Yeah.
It's this. And
times 4.
Yeah. But what's powerful is like the trend, right? So we look at trends and what's happening, and that's consistently what I'm seeing as far as applicants. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, I'm interested. And so it might be something to consider in any type of office space, rather than having a traditional office, having executive office salon suites where you can charge X amount of dollars because there's a demand there for it. And I'm not saying to go do that, but maybe go do that. But there's opportunities in these different sectors. It's just a matter of what's going to work.
This is actually great. I'm so glad we're talking about this, because in the single family, residential space, you can't really do that. You can't take unused space or repurpose it into something else. A single family is a single family. I mean, could you put an ADU up in the backyard? I suppose
maybe,
but could you run out the basement? Maybe, but that's really about it. And what you're talking about is basically just taking unused square footage and now putting it in use, and that jacks your net operating income, which therefore, when you apply the cap rate, will monstrously affect your NOI, right, and your value overall.
Yeah, so with the building that I have, that's currently what I'm doing, right? So I bought the building for $250. I'm probably going to have another $250, $350 into it all in once all of these conversions are happening. And then you hear feedback, right? You hear feedback, hey, does this building have this or does it have that? And you're like, well, no, but can it?
Yeah.
And you're like, actually, we don't, but that's a great idea. We'll look into it. And so you build to what the needs are. And so we're doing that, and my projections for that building once that third phase is done. So the third phase right now is on the third floor. We have a tenant in there that's occupying all 3,000 square feet of that space, and their renewal is coming up in a couple of months. I hope they don't hear this.
I know. I didn't even want to bring it up because I didn't know if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, but I'm considering taking that third unit or that third floor, and doing the same thing I did with that smaller 2,000 square foot and just chopping it up and then renting out those individually. Yeah, and doing that, the NOI will jump, which then will increase the value. And so, but just based off those projections, we can do another cash out refi and pull another $1 million out and go do something with that now. And it's like, man, like this is insane. But not only are you giving the people the space that they need, but you're also helping the people that they service. And then you're also just kind of making money on top of that, which is nice.
Yeah. Interesting observation you had there about the beauty space. And in fact, I've got I think I mentioned to you, I've got an office building in Council Bluffs, and we've got a whole bunch of units that are going to be coming or that are available. We've just been under construction for so long. And we just leased a space to a salon, a single an owner operator, and it wasn't plumbed, right? So that was going to be a problem because she needed a wash sink and and that kind of thing. But we're like, well, we've got rough plumbing on the other side of that wall. What if we just stub it out and then if you pay for the sink, we'll connect it and we're good to go. And she's like, yeah, sounds good, and moved in. Now it's leased.
Yep.
If we would have been rigid about that and being like, well, nope, tough, it's as is, you take it or leave it, this is how it is. But we had a conversation, and that led to more questions on both sides, and then we arrived at a mutually acceptable solution to it, and now she's a tenant.
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. And so you hear the needs of the tenant, and a lot of them in that beauty space need water. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, all these spaces don't have plumbing to them, but there's a few that do. And so the ones that had plumbing in the wall, because that one kitchenette had a sink in it, but we just stubbed it off and just put drywall over it. I'm like, I know that there's plumbing in this wall. And so we busted open the wall and stubbed it out and said, hey, yeah, here's the water, whatever you want. If it's someone that does hair, someone who does nails, I mean, there's now water there. Estheticians, you have water, you put the whatever you want there, and then they're happy.
Yeah.
And then even another one where we did that build out, where we have the 6 spaces, there's plumbing in one of the walls again, because there's a common kitchen there, and we'll stub into that. Well, this is what I'm thinking about. And then making a common wash area. So that way there's always access to a bowl potentially. And all the ones that don't have water now then have access to water because of this office. So it's a shared wash area now that you can all use. Now there's no excuse for them not to rent. The rent's cheaper and they have access to water.
So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say one final thought on that. The best thing about people that work in the beauty industry too is they all have friends, and they all have friends that are in the same line of work, or maybe they're one of them's a cosmetologist, the other one's an esthetician, another one's a massage therapist. They all kind of click together, and because I used to own for a hot minute owned a salon
here it is.
with my wife, my now wife, but my wife owned and operated it. But they would just do bizarre things. Like you would see people that would just, like 3 or 4 of them would just quit at a salon at one time, and then all of a sudden we'd have like 4 applicants. It's like, what is going on at that salon? But they all, if you treat them right and you do right by them and pay attention to what they're asking you for their needs, and you're able to deliver, I think I'll have some loyal people, and they have friends, that could be good tenants as well.
I guess the friends are super successful with those, just the salons that have the cubicles in them, and they're just making some stupid bank on those.
I know. I was picking up my daughter from school, and I was running a little early, which is weird. So I grabbed a smoothie because she loves smoothies. I'm like, I'm going to surprise her with a smoothie. And while I was out there, I happened to look over and see these salon suites, and I'm like, I have a little time. Let me go peek in there and see what's going on. And so I go in there, beautiful setup, and I'm like, oh man, this is really nice. And so I pulled them up on their website, and they're charging $360 upwards to $600 a week.
A week? That's insane, man.
At that space. And so I'm like, man, I'll charge $600 a month.
Yeah.
But it's really about location, amenities. And so now I'm like, okay, now this is what they're providing. This is what they're charging. What can I do to now not only draw people in, but justify these rents?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And to run plumbing into more units.
Yeah. And because now, but if you know that you can charge that, then you can justify the expense.
Of course.
But if you don't know that, you're like, I don't know if I can afford that. Well, like, then you won't do it. So it's just been really cool to kind of get into that niche and kind of see what these people are needing.
So I guess the backtrack and answer the question I originally asked you, what would you different? If I'm hearing you right, you probably jumped to doing some construction, moving into more of a co-working, longer term, but like more of a short, small venue space, knowing where your plumbing is, adding the amenities immediately, and you probably would speed the process up a lot faster the next time around.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I went to Modern Works and a couple of these co-working spaces to see how
Modern Works is cool.
Really cool. And it's like, man, how do I compete with this? Because I mean, they're a whole nother beast.
That's on 84th and F, right?
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah,
so like just looking at different competition and seeing what they're providing, and it's just interesting how it just organically came about, because we're advertising these spaces and like, hey, can I run my nail salon out of there, or can I do my esthetician space on there? I'm like, I don't know. Like, is there any like legal requirements that I need to have as a building owner for you to do that? And so it just organically came. But yeah, those are great points.
When we were creating our first studio, Modern Works was number 1 on my list, and I was most most likely was going to go there. Ruben was in that building at the time, and then they also had a podcast studio you could use.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, we can get this place. I can have an office because I didn't have an office at the time, and there's a studio already here. I called them to actually rent it, and then they're like, "Oh, we don't have any more spots left." And then they did like 2 weeks prior.
Oh, okay.
And that was the difference of us moving into the apartment building and doing the podcast versus not going to co-working.
Didn't know that. No, what I love about this story is you didn't know what to do or how to do this with the commercial building, but you figured it out. Or you're figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
And you've learned from other people that have done it. You've taken the initiative to go out and, through foot traffic and just checking out what other spaces are doing. You've got some really good ideas. But I think that's the hardest thing about, being in business with yourself. You don't have a boss that you can go to that's just done all this before, and you can just be like, okay, this is the situation. What do I do in these situations? It's just you, and you're like, I don't know. They're calling me, and can I put this business in there? And you're like, maybe. Let me research that.
Yeah.
But the F it, I'll figure it out kind of approach on this is really cool. And I know I'm putting you on the spot with this question, but any piece of advice you could give somebody that has considered dabbling or getting into commercial because they've been in residential, but they've been hesitant because they don't understand it, and any lessons learned along that you might be able to share?
I mean, I would put myself in that same position, in that same seat. So I would be giving advice to myself, and whoever else is in that same position would be a confused mind won't make any decisions. And so how do you get unconfused? How do you get untangled? And
that needs to be your next shirt.
There you go. I've been thinking about printing a bunch of shirts.
T-shirt shop. That'll be your next tenant.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah. Print out my own shirts and give them away. But get around people that have done it before. And I'm kind of wrestling with this thing called success, right? What is that? And I think success, once we figure out that success isn't what we've all made it out to be, we'll be a lot more free. I think a lot of people are chasing deals, chasing all these things because they've been told to, because that's what success looks like. And my idea or definition of success is you can't be successful without knowing what you're designed to do, what's your purpose. And if you're not doing what you're designed to do, then you'll never get success. It's like a bird walking wherever they go. They have wings, so they get to fly. You have fish, they get to breathe underwater, which is pretty cool. So, or think about these lights, for example. If you come in here and turn on the lights and the lights don't turn on, they're not successful at doing what they were designed to do. If you go out to your car and you go turn it on and nothing kicks on, it wasn't successful at getting you from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
And so purpose is defined by what you're designed to do. And so I would challenge people to sit with themselves to see why they're even here on this planet. And then once they get that answer, then they can be in alignment with what they're designed to do and go find success by fulfilling that calling. Luckily for me, I do think that success for me is in real estate and helping people find financial freedom with using real estate as a vehicle to then step into whatever their calling is.
I think you have a motivational speaker career in your
totally
in your future.
Did any of that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Every one of those points hit for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
or maybe a preacher.
A preacher. Well, that's a really cool thing about life is there's only one truth. There's a lot of different perspectives, but only one truth. And so I think that we benefit each other by sharing our perspectives. But if it doesn't point back to truth, then we're lying to each other. And so I think that we all have gifts and we have callings, and we all lie to ourselves to try to justify what we're doing and just not step into what we're actually called to go do.
Are you sure you're not related to Zig Ziegler? Because you're dropping some bombs here, man.
Oh, I didn't know that
I was.
Good
stuff.
It's just a lot of pain, right? So a lot of pain along my life is a lot of seeking, a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. But man, we all desire to be free. What that looks like, it's all different to each one of us. But we all desire to be free, which is why why you get your real estate license, so I can have my freedom of time, so I can just go do what I want, when I want, however I want. Same thing with investing. Oh, I want to have a bunch of money to go on vacations, go eat a steak maybe once in a while. And it's like, you're really just desiring freedom. But what if you could live a free life by doing what you were designed to do and not put yourself in the golden handcuffs, because I thought I had that life of, I'm gonna go build this portfolio, or I'm gonna go get matching 401k because that's what I've been told to do, but it ends up being your prison because you're never designed to be there anyways.
Man.
Mic drop.
And scene. No, I love that.
The shorts that we're going to get out of that are going to be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, man, this has been so good, dude. Let's talk about maybe something that didn't go all that great for you. I know you've talked about some challenging times you had early on, but do you have anything maybe in the last 2-3 years that didn't go according to plan to augment our segment that we call Failing Forward? Like that.
Failing forward. I will say I'm consistently failing forward. I have a flip right now that I think is failing forward. I have a property out in Harvey Oaks, and I bought the property, and all of a sudden it's not selling, and so you just sit on this property and hope it sells.
Market's tough right now.
Yeah. So what do? You're like, I got to keep reducing price, or do I pull it? Do I wait till spring? And so
make it a rental. Wait.
I'm in that storm right now. Something that I'm learning from it would be kind of, we talked about this a little bit earlier, is having multiple exits.
Mm-hmm.
If you're banking on selling it for this price in order to make any type of money, and it doesn't, then what?
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have a then what.
I preach 3 exits every time I meet a real estate client. I'm like, what's your 3 exits if you buy this?
Yeah. And that's smart. It's smart. For me, I'll be 2, and if you can get 3, that's incredible, but you need to have 2, and one of them needs to be a sure thing. I mean, you can always rent it, but are you going to make any money? Or you could always sell it, but are you going to take the hit? So
what's the rent break even on this?
I would have to look into it. It's in Harvey Oaks. I would have to see. Yeah, great area. It's out, and it's already priced below what it probably should sell at, and it's still kind of cricket. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, that's something I'll have to look into to see what type of financing I have.
I had somebody just hit me up yesterday for that wanted a West Omaha rental, 2-bed or more, and could pay up to $2,800.
Yeah, I think it would probably work, especially with this now 40-year financing.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, could work, and then maybe sell it in a couple of years when the market turns, when we get back to 3s.
Or just put it on the market, in an April timeframe.
Yeah, but what do you do in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, just say
6 months.
Hey, I got a short-term rental. If it works out for you guys, you could advertise as just a 3-month, not short term, but a 3-month, 6-month rental.
Yeah. I got to be able to cover the carrying costs with the hard money, or I got to move it into a different financing thing. Yep. So I'm currently failing forward now on that flip. That's the first one that comes to my mind.
So the lesson was the exit plans.
Exits, yeah. And you always make your money when you buy, right? And maybe I bought it too high, and so multiple exits, buy it, make sure you're not just hungry to do a deal and you just don't take any deal that because you need a deal type thing.
Yep.
Make sure it meets your parameters of what a deal actually is. But you said those, I would probably say those.
Yeah, I always feel like when you get into something and they're like, hey, this defines who I am. Maybe it's flipping houses, or in my case, it was buying condemned properties and renovating them. But then you start learning. You're like, hey, you know what? I don't need to always be doing something like this. But there's sometimes people are like, oh, I got to always do something because this is who I am.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to say, hey, this isn't working, or this isn't the best path for me. I need to revisit my what I'm doing here.
I struggled a lot when I left my job to do real estate investing full time 8 years ago with my identity, because I think especially with men in particular, your identity gets so wrapped up in your profession or whatever you're doing for a living that it becomes part of who you are. And you just, I don't know. I struggled with that mentally, just kind of figuring out what I actually am and how I describe it to somebody. That was a sticking point for me for a while. So I think
that's why you're so angry when I first met you, and now you're so carefree.
Yeah, carefree. Yeah, that's me. But no, this is so good, man. I love all the stuff you shared, and certainly appreciate the fact that you went through such a struggle early on and have used that as a springboard to help out other people so that they don't fall into the same habits and kind of trauma that can be really impactful for people, and they have problems getting out of it. I mean, that's why you see generational trauma. You have people that were sons and granddaughters and grandsons of people that grew up in the Great Depression, and you can see some of that through hoarding, and resource scarcity is a fear for a lot of people that grew up without a lot of means. I also like the fact that you said, you know what, that didn't define who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And you made some really cool moves and made a good life for yourself. So kudos to you, man.
Yeah. Hopefully this is getting started, right?
Yeah.
And this is just kind of chapter 1, and we can have hopefully a couple more chapters to go.
Do you feel like you're going to the second chapter now?
I actually do.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question, and that's exactly where I am.
I feel that just from your vibe and what you're putting out there, and the moves you're making.
Yeah, exactly. So now I have this opportunity to do this cash out refi, which then I think allows me to play the game at a bigger level, and I think that would be chapter 2. Stepping into that, whatever that is. Yeah, it hasn't been written yet, but it's definitely the next page for sure.
I don't have 50 some units, obviously, but I feel like I'm right there with you. I'm selling some of my stuff off. I'm repositioning myself. I'm looking at different types of assets, and I truly feel like I'm now I'm seeing the end of this chapter right now, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the next chapter, and I feel like I can taste it, and it excites me.
Yeah.
So I'm right. I feel you.
But you needed that first chapter to get you to the second chapter. And so don't hate the fact that you went through it. It's just, it's a blessing. And it did give you the battle scars and the confidence and to get you to the next page.
Chapter 1 is the only reason we got to chapter 2, right?
Yeah.
Because we did something right.
Yeah.
Or
wrong. You're right. But that's
lots of things wrong to make it. Right?
But that's what makes the story so good.
Yeah.
Your story, whether you win, the failures are what makes the story so dynamic. It's like if everything was just all good all the time, pretty boring movie.
Right, right.
You need to have the ups and the downs.
You got to have the character arc, the trials and tribulations, and then the redemption at the end, the hero and all that.
These failures just add to the story.
What chapter is Owen on? That's the question.
Oh man, it's a long book. It's kind of like the Bible, I think. But hey, speaking of books, we have one last section.
He knows how he avoided that because he knows that he's been through a lot of chapters.
We have one last section that we call the OT with Owen and Ted, where we got some questions for you. The first one happens to be about books. If you were going to write a book, what do you think the topic and or title will be?
That's actually a great question. I'm actually in the mind process of writing a book now, and the title of it would be One Decision to a Million. And so it's this idea of you can make one decision to change your life. And it doesn't need to be within real estate. I do think that you should own property. And what I mean by that is at least a primary residence because of my story.
Mm-hmm.
And so get into a property. I think it's a great investment vehicle long term. Also gives your family some security. It's the cheapest investment you can get into. I mean, you could put 3% down and have the bank cover the rest. It's like, goodness. And then in some cases, even lower. Some people are doing 0% if you're
VA loans, if you're
USDA,
military.
you can do first time home buyers. So
NIFA,
a lot of different options out there. And there's sometimes even grants to help people with that. So it's like, my gosh, this is a no brainer. I mean, you could even see Warren Buffett saying, hey, if I had a way to buy 3,000 single families, I would, because they're just a good investment. But why don't you do it? Why don't you go buy your primary residence to whoever's listening that doesn't have one? But then, so that's a decision. But there's also these decisions that we kind of talked about before. Is like, what is it that you are actually meant to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then use that to go make a bunch of money, impact a bunch of people. It's actually opposite. Do what you're designed to do, impact a bunch of people, and then the byproduct of that is money. And so something going back to that, the light bulb analogy of if you come in and you flip the switch and the light doesn't turn on the light bulb, it doesn't work. But if it does work, you do get light. And if you do get light, people are willing to pay for that now light bulb. And so money should be a byproduct of what you're designed to do. So figure out what you're designed to do, go do that, and then money will be a byproduct of that. And then you take that money and then go invest into some real estate too. So that's kind of what the premise of the book would be.
I told you, man.
I
told you this was going to be good.
I mean, you're like the modern day David Green right here. Okay, so I already know you're a podcast host, so this one might come a little easier, but you can interview anyone in the world today. Doesn't mean it's real estate. Who is it? And if you could ask one question for them to answer, what would it be?
That's probably actually the hardest one to think about. I don't know. A lot of people come to my mind, sports, like, oh man, what would it be like to be the fastest man alive and just run like that? And then, you can go to Gandhi or Elon Musk or Trump and all that stuff and kind of get in their mind to see. But I don't know. I think that the people that I'm drawn to the most are people who understand who they are, and so it's probably somebody I don't even know, to be honest. But someone who is so in tune with who they are and why they're here to me, like my hair stand up.
I'm getting chills.
And it's like, man, like the conviction of who you are, no one can tell you otherwise. I think that we're in this culture of comparison of like, all right, especially in this real estate space, how many doors do you have? And what's this and what's that? And it's like, it ends up being a more of an ego thing than it is a purpose driven thing. And so someone who's really aligned with who they are and what their purpose is, that would be the person there's a ton of people out there. So those are the most people that I'm drawn to. And I guess the question that I would ask them is, how'd you find out? Like, how did you find out that's who you were? Who told you that? And just hearing that story of an enlightenment story, like, oh man, I really went through this season of my life and struggle. And it was revealed to me that I was here and designed to help people in that situation, whatever it might be,
If I had to think about all the book authors and, that I've listened to, read, and think about the one person that might really know who they are, and I never really thought about that question, to be honest with you, and, more than anybody else, the name comes to head? Jocko.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, can you think of somebody that you think is like probably extremely aligned, knows exactly what their path is and what they're here for?
Honestly, I mean, the first people that jump to mind are those that are really strong in their faith.
I agree with that.
Those are, I mean, you can just tell when you talk to them. I mean, the look in their eye. Ian, you and I had a conversation about cognitive dissonance the other day. I don't know if you remember that part of it, but we were talking about when you meet somebody and what they're saying to you is not really resonating, or there's something off, like your gut is telling you that like there's cognitive dissonance here because it's not aligning with what I'm hearing from you, how you're acting. And the people that you meet and you can just tell that they're comfortable in their own skin, they know their purpose and their why and all that. I would say that's rare, but when you meet them, it's like a lightning bolt for me. Like you can tell within 30 seconds of talking to somebody.
Yeah, that's the journey that I'm on now. And man, I was really trying to find out who I was by doing all the right things. Right. I was going to the gym, building a portfolio,
drinking pre-workout.
Just being an everyday guy. We're trying to exercise, get healthy, mind, body, and soul, and going to church and volunteering at church and being a husband and a good father. And I was doing all these things and I felt lost. I felt empty and I knew it. I'm like, how could this be? How could this be that I'm doing all these things that people are telling me this is the right things to do and I still feel this way? Have you been there? Cause I have. And I remember I was at the gym. That's funny they bring that pre-workout up. I was at the gym and I was between sets and I ended up scrolling social media and there's a guy popped into my feed and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember listening to this guy years ago and I bought a lot of his books way back in the day and I never listened to any of them. And so I was like, let me go. So I instantly went into my audio account and started listening to this book and everything he was saying was speaking directly to my soul. And I was like, wow. This is exactly what I needed. And it was talking about purpose, right? You have to get to this point in this understanding that everything that's ever created has a purpose. And when you think about it, it's pretty wild to think like everything from the shirt to the microphone, to the cord, to the table, to the sky, to the crickets, to mosquito, like everything has a purpose. Insane to think about.
I think about that all the time.
Insane. And so, but I can look at you, I can hear you, I can see you, I can feel you, and I can understand that you've been created. And so the fact that you've been created, by default, you have purpose because nothing that has been created has no purpose. So just by being here tells me that you have purpose.
You just have to figure out what that is.
Yes.
That's your job.
And so
that's everybody's job, right?
Kind of, because I'm like looking to my past to try to find purpose within my past. All right, yeah, I went through all these hard things, crazy things with my mom and the evictions and this and that. I don't know, maybe I'll help people. And so I go down that path. And then I'm like, yeah, this is good, but why do I still feel this way? Maybe I need to do more of it, more deals, more people, more help, more. And it's that drinking from a well that never quenches your thirst. And it's like, man, like if this doesn't quench my thirst, then this ain't it. This ain't it. And so I gained the understanding that everything that is created has a creator. If I want to fully understand something like the iPhone, for example, that thing has a ton of features, right?
Yeah.
You probably use 12 of them, but it has thousands of features. And so a manual comes with it. I don't think anymore, actually. But you get this thing and you fumble through it and you learn, you're experimenting with this thing. And that's what we're doing with our lives. We've been given this life. We have unlimited opportunity to do anything that we want. No one tells you to do anything or not to do anything. You have complete free will. And you go through this life experimenting, just like you are with this phone, not even knowing the functionality or the features that you have access to. And usually that results in some sort of damage. If you don't know how to operate something, damage is there. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we call life. Like, oh man, I damaged myself by breaking up with that girl. And now I do have a baby mama now because I didn't know how to operate within the confinement of a relationship and how I was supposed to act as a man. And so then because I was experimenting now in that relationship because I didn't know what I was called to do in that, other people now get hurt because of it. And so backtracking a little bit, everything that has been created has a creator. And so understanding that I needed to go back to my creator to find out my purpose, that nothing that I could do was going to have me, I know why I was created, other than asking why I was created. Like this microphone, for example, is here. We understand it's here. It understands it's here. And it understands what it looks like. It's doing the comparison thing like we all do. How many units you got and what you do and this and that. But it doesn't know why it's here. It just knows that it's here. Mm-hmm. But if this thing was say, hey, your job is here to amplify voice. It's, oh yeah. All right, cool. Now I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if I take this and I say, man, you look like a hammer, and I start using this thing as a hammer, I'm going to damage it. And I'm not going to be using it in the correct fashion. And so where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Wow, man. You're a soundbite after soundbite. All right, man. We're at next question here. We're at sad times. It's the end of the road for Ian Ziegler. We're at your funeral. Somebody's going to be talking about your life. What do you hope your legacy is going to be? And if you could guess, who do you think would walk up there and send you off into the great unknown?
Man, I have whole body chills right now because that's a real thing. And it's going to happen, right?
Yep.
It's inevitable.
Death and taxes.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying by 2035, AI is going to be able to figure out our cell system and actually reverse aging. So who knows?
Yeah, live forever.
Yeah. Do you want that?
So there's some people that are trying to do that. There's a billionaire out there that is, have you seen him trying to like reverse his biological age?
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But now he's coming out with supplements and stuff like that. So he's going to hope maybe recoup his costs. But what did they say at my funeral? That's interesting because have you read Steve Jobs' like last letter to humanity?
I'm an Android guy.
Yeah. So forget that guy.
I have not.
Yeah. So I would say read it. It's one page. It's short, but it's an interesting read because he's like, man, anything, even with all the money and all this stuff, like it's not what you think it is. You know, mm-hmm. You hear Jim Carrey's talking about, I wish that everyone could be rich and famous. So that way people can understand it's not about being rich and famous. I think that the biggest gift I can give back to people is to let them know that they're special, that they have purpose inside of them, and go for it. You know, go change the world with what you've been designed to do, because at the end of the day, that's where success is. So kind of wrapping up this whole identity of what success is. A lot of times people look at that as money, but success is really back to the light bulb. When you flip the switch and the light comes on, that's success, doing what you're designed to do. And so if I can point people back to their creator and they can establish a relationship with their creator, then to figure it out why they have been placed on this earth, and then they go do that, they're going to change a lot of people's lives. And so if I can point people to that truth and they have the courage to go do that, I think that's the best thing I can do.
Love it, man. Deep thoughts.
This one's going to get even deeper. If you if you think about your life in general and think about the person that's had the biggest impact on you, you could call them a mentor. Who is that person? And alive or dead, if you could speak to them right now, what would you say to them?
I think about both my grandmas come to my mind immediately. My grandma that took me in, but also my dad's mom, my grandma Betty. She's about 4'10" on a good day with her hair puffed up. She has a bunch of war stories.
You got the height from your mom's side then, obviously.
Yeah. Well, my dad was taller, but yeah, she has a bunch of war stories, and she was actually in the Air Force too. And back in the day, you had to hit a certain height requirement in order to get in. And she went early in the morning and puffed up her hair. She had the big hair going and stick up her neck and ended up getting in. But man, she's a huge inspiration for me, not only in the faith space. Like she's passed now, but she had an amazing relationship with God, which allowed her to be almost untouchable. It's insane the stories that she has, but in the places that she's gone and the things that she's done, because she was led there. She had no experience, no authorization even to be in some of these places. And she ended up turning on a light in a dark area for a lot of people. And I'll say she's my inspiration. And so if I could say something to her, I would just say thank you. Thank you for planting that seed for me and unlocking truth for me, not just my feelings, not my perspective, not any of that stuff, because my feelings, my thoughts, my understanding has led me astray a lot, and it's damaged a lot of people along the way. And so if I can just say thank you to her, that's what I would say.
I love that, because my grandma was definitely my inspiration, and so it hits home for me. So I feel you.
She says, "Hey, if anyone ever messes with you, tell me." They'll have a 90-pound tiger on her.
She'll mess them up.
Yeah, she's just a spitfire. She's awesome.
All right, last question for you, and we'll get you out of here, Ian. Man, I could talk to you for hours more. We'll have you back next year when we find out what chapter 2 is all about.
Yeah, and hopefully by then that book will be out, and I can tell people.
Yes, I love it. Ted is an unpublished author. I don't know if you knew that. Co-author with ChatGPT, but okay. Last thing for you, Ian. Are you looking for anything in your business or life right now? Is somebody catching this episode might be able to connect the dots? Or if not, what's the best way to reach out to you? That kind of thing. Socials.
Yeah. As we've talked about, kind of getting into chapter 2 here in the uncharted territory. What that looks like, I'm not sure, but would love to talk to people about business opportunities and what that looks like, maybe in multifamily development, commercial space, but just open to opportunities and seeing what that is.
You know what I love, though, man, is I hadn't seen you in, probably over a year, maybe? And you and I hadn't really spent much one-on-one time together. I've seen you out socially and obviously at the real estate events. We've talked on the phone and all that, but you called me or you texted or called me and said, hey, would you mind meeting up? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And we got together and then now you're on the podcast and now we're talking about all this awesome stuff and you got to tell your story today. And my point with that is that would have never happened unless you would have reached out to me. I mean, maybe I would have reached out to you and that would have happened anyway, but you got to take your shot. And your only limitation is the quality and quantity of the people that you have in your network, right?
Yeah. And
making those efforts to reach out to them could lead to opportunities that you have no idea that were going to present themselves.
Yeah.
It's just a chain of, a chain of events that happen from one phone call or one text. Yeah, that'd be my message. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing. And when you don't know something, there is somebody out there that does. And odds are they probably struggled like hell to get through to the point where they are. And now they're in a position where they can give you advice. And most entrepreneurs that aren't bad people are going to want to give, help people over the hill. Right. So they climb up the wall and figure some things out, get over on the other side. And their job now is to lift somebody else up and share some of their knowledge. So it's really hitting home, man, with all the things you said today.
Yeah. I heard that saying, free people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you're talking about, that they're reaching down and helping somebody else out, because that was you at one point.
Yeah.
And so if you can go back, and it's almost like giving back to yourself of hey, wow, if I can go help little Ian out and let him know it's going to be okay. But I do that for somebody else, you know, and then they can pay it forward. And that ends up being your legacy too.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Well, Ian, thank you so much for taking that time. Great conversations. The quotes that are priceless that you dropped. And I think a lot of people that listen to this are going to be inspired, but also are going to, feel like they really got something out of this today. And you probably impacted some lives. And I think that's really what your purpose is. And believe it or not, is impacting other people's lives. And, it seems like that's the trajectory that you're going with everything you're doing. So appreciate it very much. But with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of RIA Radio, Ted Kosh, and Aiden Bear, I'm Owen Dashner, and you've been listening to Ian, Designing Your Life by Finding Your Purpose, and also buying a crap ton of real estate. Ziegler. Sign off.